This lesson will be a little bit longer and it will be more demanding because we will be removing all of this panel supporting our product. So it will be quite difficult in few of the points because we don't have the same texture, especially in the floor area where we have a lot of the stones. So I have to warn you, this part will be difficult, but the best is just to start. So I'm going to create the empty layer above the background layer, and I'm going to rename this to the clean panel. So we know we will be focused on this area here under the extracted products that we have over here. And these extracted products are amazing help because when we will be cleaning everything under, we don't have to pay attention to the product itself. So the process should be a lot easier. And to show you what I'm talking about, I'm going to change to the clone stamp tool. I will be working with soft edged brush because here the texture in this area will not be as important. Sample is current below. So I'm going to make the size a little bit larger. And let's start maybe from here. One thing we need to pay attention is the light in the background. So we can see this part here is a little bit darker and over here is a little bit brighter. We'll have to mix this up to make sure it looks perfect. So I'm pressing outer option to take the sample, and then I'm just going to cover the panel. Looking from the distance, as you can see, we did change the light a little bit. So then I'm going to adjust this a little bit better to make sure it match perfectly. So I'm going to turn off the top layer for now. And let's start from the other side and try to clean this up. As you can see, as we clean up, especially with the big size brush, we might do some mistake, but let's just try to focus on removing this part well. So I think now we did quite a good job. Now I'm going to make the size of the brush a little bit bigger and do nicer transition here because of the light. As I mentioned before, this light wasn't perfect. So as we turn on the top layer, as you can see, now it looks like the product is levitating. Of course, we will have some extra job, especially on the edges over here. They maybe do not look that perfect, so we'll have to polish this. But now, only one focus point for us is removing this. In some areas, when it's easier, we might also change the hardness of the brush, change the size of the brush, as you can see, depending on what we do. Going to turn this off a little bit further. And here, close on the edge, just like this. I feel it wasn't perfect because edge is not straight now. And also I don't want to build the new stones at this moment. In the areas where I can try to do certain things using healing brush, but what you could see, it's not that easy. And now as getting closer to the floor, with so many of these stones, we will have to sacrifice some of these stones. But don't worry about this because we will be able to rebuild them later. So some of them that are under the panel, of course, we have to sacrifice this. And that's absolutely okay. So don't worry about this. Continuing. Not looking great with the healing brush. Also, we might get the effect of dirty floor, but also don't be too concerned about this, because we will be able to correct this. And also, as I'm going inside here, I might change the technique a little bit. So in some areas I can get with hard-edged brush, just trying what is going to work. So I might be adjusting the brush depending on what I do. So some of the stones that doesn't look very well, they're blurred or something like this, I will try to remove them right now. It's not something we need to be concerned too much. Here is a little bit dark, so I will try to equalize that. As you can see, I do a lot of step backs, and I'm doing this by pressing Command and Z on the keyboard to do a step back. Let's go further, and once again I'm going to change the hardness of the brush. I'm going to use the hard-edged brush, and now I'm just going to do as it goes, just like this. It doesn't look perfect, but you can trust me, and we can get quite nice result. And wherever the edge is not nice, I'm going to smooth this out with healing brush or soft-edged brush. I'm using my Dutch and Burn brush that of course is available for you in this course. When I mention Dutch and Burn, of course we are going to do some dodging and burning technique as well. So that's where we are right now. Going to use the eraser tool to remove some of the cleaning that I did before. Okay, so little bit more here and close to these stones over here, and then continue with the panel. So what to do here? It's again hard-edged brush, where from to take the sample somewhere next to it, I believe would be okay, or possibly even a little bit lower over here, because here we have so many stones, and here I can see the light actually can be quite similar. So let's see what we can get. I think it will not be so bad. So let's try here something like this, and of course we need to do one more sample over here, but I'm thinking how to do it, where from, especially to take the sample. Maybe the similar spot around here, a little bit smaller size of the brush. It will be a little bit too bright. this area quite opposite. And maybe something like this for the moment. So we covered this troublesome parts, and now I'm going to do some work over here. The work that I will be engaged here is trying to make sure that this shadow stay as natural as possible. And for this, I'm going to bring it back as much as possible in this area, as long as it looks natural. And as you can see, we could make this bigger sample and now just bring back as much as possible. And then with the healing brush, we can try to blend some of these edges here. Healing brush, and of course, wherever we have to, we can use clone stamp. I would understand everyone's pain of and seeing the difficulty of this lesson, but the good part is that this sort of task that we are doing right now is important in terms of practicing your retouching skills, but also the good news is you're not going to face this sort of challenge too often. It happened maybe once in my lifetime, so it's not something we would always do, but once we can do this, we can do everything else. So that's where we are. Let's have a look. After we would bring back the product. So I'm going to do some more work with the stones here, especially the ones that are not sharp. Doesn't look nice. I'm going to remove some of them. And help to clean up the shadow from the panel. And also on the top here, this part doesn't really match so well. I'm not really fan of this part over here. I believe I could do it maybe a little bit better. I want to try it. Maybe with the harder brush. And I think it indeed looks better if I go this way. Just some differences in the light, which is of course not the bigger problem here. Not the biggest, I would say. I wouldn't be worried also about the lost texture in some areas. Texture can be rebuilt, and there are methods to actually blend this in and maybe make a little bit more invisible. Okay, so here we have empty spot. that better when I remove most of the stones. Let's go back to the major issue here. Okay, so look, this is where we are. So now another difficult part will be this area over here, but we actually have something to work with around this area, so it's not too bad. Just want to pay attention to this shadow, that it looks as natural as possible. So let's move here and do what we can to make it look better. And I feel now you can see it's much easier whether we use the healing brush or clone stamp. Not so much texture as well to worry, which is good news. And the less texture we have to think of, the easier our work. So this is where we are. It's not too bad actually, like we have the dirt, but it will be much easier to work with this dirt a little bit later than think of every other issue. As you can see here, not perfect. Too big size of the brush. If your question would be if there is any easier way to do these things, of course I'm going to talk about it, how we can help ourselves before we get to this situation where we have to clean it, because there are ways to make it easier, but this is on the level where the photography is taken, so long before that. This area I want to blend in texture-wise. The stones I'm going to bring back later. And now let's try to remove this. I wonder if we can do it with the healing brush. Not ideal, but we can try a few different methods. It's really important to make sure that the light is sound here. This part here, but as you can see, may be better if I will use harder brush, not fully. Let's try now. Still seems I'm affecting some other areas. Okay, so much better now. Let's make sure that the line over here in the background is actually straight. It's really important. and with all our effort, we will try to make sure it looks as natural as possible. So that's where we are. Not ideal for now. A lot of dirt here, a lot of differences in the color. I'm trying to press very softly now to make sure I'm not overdoing it. As you can see, just to darken this light over here. And I think we are in the good point now. So I'm not going to extend this lesson much more. That was enough struggle at this moment. As you can see, this is before, and this is how it looks now. But there is much more work to do. We will try to bring back some of the stones in the areas that we can, of course. So as you can see, some areas here can be cleaned, can be made maybe a little bit more natural. As you can see, some of the stones I'm still able to bring back, so I'm going to take care of this. Make sure over here, as you can see, I still can see some mistakes. Pay attention to the line over here, if it's perfectly straight. And we are going to continue our work because there is a lot of mess that we still need to take care of. We need to clean this shadows over here, this dirts over here, and all of this will lead us to absolutely perfect results.